All right, everybody, welcome to another episode. I'm Uther. I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about LG's failures, meaning that Microsoft has a chance to take over, or is it just going to be taken up by Google, Samsung, and Apple? All right, everybody, welcome to another episode. Thanks for spending part of your day with me. Give me a thumbs up on this video. Let me know what you guys think. Let's talk in the comments below. Check out my Twitter, and let's continue to make this conversation. Have this conversation so we can continue to get larger YouTubers in on this conversation so we can kind of get to the bottom of where we want to be and where we think this market's going to go. Obviously, we want Microsoft to continue to grow. We want the Surface Duo to grab more and more market share. Based on the feedback I had on my last video, I'm seeing that quite a few of you people, guys and gals, don't want Microsoft to go beyond the Duo. They want to continue to look at the mobile device segment and not really the smartphone segment. Obviously, I've made videos about what I really think about smartphones, but just for the sake of simplicity, we're going to say smartphone here. Obviously, we know that the Duo is not really a smartphone. Phone mode actually half the time doesn't really work that well, at least not for me when I'm using it all day in this mode. I definitely have to open and close it on occasion, but that's not really the point of this video. The point of this video is LG's fall leaves room for Microsoft, but are they going to instead let Apple, Samsung, and Google take that limelight? And I feel like that is a possibility, but at the end of the day, with Windows 10X coming and them continuing to work with Samsung and Google to expand Android, I really feel like this is really the chance. Obviously, LG is a great large company out of South Korea. I think they're the second largest company in South Korea behind Samsung. And they still make more panels than anybody else in the world. So it's not like LG itself is going anywhere. I don't know if they have a lot of patents, but I'm very surprised. And maybe the price will just start to drop. But I'm very surprised somebody didn't try to buy in on it and get some of their patents and things like that. I imagine just like when HTC fell apart years ago and Google jumped on that and took that market share. I felt like they did a good job grabbing some of those patents, even though they're not using them all anymore. But having them and making sure nobody else has them is also a business move. And I'd really like Microsoft to consider it, but maybe because Microsoft's an American company, LG's segment's probably going to end up just sold off to Samsung or something like that could happen just because of a business move. Now, what I think this means for Microsoft is that they play their cards right. They could get some market share. Obviously, the Android space is extremely crowded. The smartphone space itself is not really that crowded. If you look at the top, it's really just Samsung and Apple and then Huawei. And obviously, Huawei was number one before they got banned from a bunch of countries. So there's definitely space for companies to start to grow. Huawei showed that. Obviously, they're in a really, really, really large market over in China and in those areas. But if Microsoft can grow in your European and American and other areas where they are banning Huawei and country areas like the Oceanic and Southeast Asia where there's not a very large area for Apple, they could definitely grow there. I'm not sure if they can really get a lot of market share because I don't feel like the market and economy in those areas are really there for $1,500 US phones. That's going to be amazingly expensive in their local currency, at least at this time. Obviously, that will change as time goes. We got a lot of emerging markets in Southeast Asia, South Africa, and South America that could really start to grow. But I mentioned this in my last video. If Microsoft plans to continue to grow their devices, they're going to have to figure out how to grow mindshare. I'm not sure that companies can continue to do it the way Apple did it or anybody else. I mean, look at Samsung, look at Google. The market is in the cheaper space. I mean, even Apple, their big numbers started really shoot up after the SE launched. Without the 5C, the SEs, and obviously the current SE, their phones are so expensive, they're not going to expand into smaller markets, getting the non-designer areas and things like that. And that's where Microsoft is really going to be missing out. Now, I know we've all had this conversation in the comments where we think Microsoft needs to just keep where they are and focus on what's in front of them. Realistically, though, at what point are they going to say, hey, look, our Android segment, I'll call it the Android segment, needs to grow and be profitable? And are they going to pull a Google because they're so big they can let that segment be over there in the corner and just let it be an extension of the more profitable areas and let it lose money in the sake of other areas making money? I mean, Microsoft and their leadership really do know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. I've say this over and over and over again. Their current CEO, the head of Xbox, the head of Windows and the Surface line, they have some really good leadership there. However, there's also some really good leadership at Samsung and Apple, and not so much at Google. So I'm not sure if Microsoft can really just take the market share, or if it's just going to end up all going to Samsung and Apple, and that's my fear. I don't see Samsung really innovating much anymore. Apple's never really been an innovative company, and they obviously, as Mr. Ludwig said in the comment section, they are more of a designer brand, and Samsung's on their way were on their way that route until they came out with the A series. And Google's going to try to take up that space, and obviously you have the OnePlus Nord and stuff like that, and maybe OnePlus ends up taking that market share. I'm not sure, because they're one of the few Chinese brands that can still be regularly sold in the U.S. and Europe and things like that. So it's really interesting to see where this goes. Obviously, if the Duo 2 has the 888, we're definitely going to see some pretty big advancements. They need to definitely make a jump, and they need to start putting some marketing behind the Duo 2. I know at this point that majority of Duo fans are just people that are trying to do something different. They're going against the grain. They may already just be Microsoft fans or Surface fans like I am myself. Maybe they just want to buy something that's not inherently fully Google, even though the software is obviously, but the device isn't, and they just don't want Apple devices. Maybe that's what it is. And obviously other options are LG, Motorola, Chinese companies. And then obviously people may have their different opinions on where they really want to put their money. Especially today's day and age, if anyone's watching the news, there's a lot of people that don't want to put their money in the Eastern markets. So I would assume that maybe that will increase Motorola's market share on the lower end, and then give Microsoft an area where they can grow at the top end. But I stick by what I said in the last video about fighting a losing battle. I still stick with the thought process that I think Microsoft really needs to expand beyond the Duo. They really need to make sure that they're creating a full ecosystem, looking at Windows and Microsoft as a whole, as an ecosystem, and start creating more mindshare. I mean, the Surface devices are absolutely amazing, and I'm a big advocate of those, and they need to put their power behind it. And they need to stop doing it in a way where they're bashing the competition. I put a tweet out about this, I think, yesterday. I'm tired of watching companies bash each other. Tell me why I should buy your product, not why I should not buy the other company's product. And I feel like that's what companies do when they just be like, well, my product's better than you, nah type scenario. They're not like, oh, hey, look at what I have to offer, and they don't. Tell me, why is this product better? Why are you getting better year over year? Why is the Surface Duo 2 better than the Duo 1? Why is the Surface Laptop 4 better than the Laptop 3? I don't want to see these videos over and over again going against Chromebooks against Microsoft, all these against Apple. You don't see Apple doing ads, at least I don't. But then again, I try to steer away anything Apple. I don't want to give anyone any credit for using their products. You'll even see me drop content creators that go too far that route. I've even dropped tech sites that talk too much about Apple. However, the reality is the reality that we can't get away from. We really need to see these companies expand behind it. And while I'm a person that uses Linux and I like going against the grain, I like to be in the smaller segment, I don't think that's a good idea for Android. I mean, one of my favorite things is sitting at the table at work and being the only person that doesn't have an iPhone. More now than ever, because it used to be 3 of us, now there's down to 2, and I kind of enjoy that. But at the same time, the advancement of the handheld and smartphone industry is in the Android market, and the companies competing with each other. That's the same thing with Windows. Windows is what pushes the market for computers, and we really need to make sure we're keeping that, and we need Microsoft at the top of the list there, and I really want to see Microsoft take over that segment. Obviously, LG had an extremely small part of the market, excuse me on that, and even less part of the top end market, and Microsoft is trying to squeeze into a very, very small area. They need to focus their devices right now on prosumers and market it in that manner. I need to see them really get more multitasking capabilities, more software optimization, and start marketing these things directly toward organizations. And obviously, I don't work at Microsoft. Hey, Microsoft, if you're watching this video, give me a call. But I'm big into sales here, and I really hope that that's what they're doing behind the scenes. But Google and Apple have almost every market, right? And Samsung, yes, but they're using Google software. So reality is everybody's using Google or Apple when it comes to handheld portable devices, aside from laptops. And Microsoft is just, they've got to jump on this. And obviously the market itself can shift. No one stays on top forever. Maybe Microsoft can come in and just basically just take over. And then we'll probably be talking about something differently, because we're eventually, if you guys are anything like me, eventually get to the point, okay, they're too big. Let's find somebody else to get behind. But it's a sad day to see LG go down, and obviously it is April Fool's. But the information actually came out yesterday, so I'm expecting this to follow behind and be a fact going forward. I don't expect to see any more LG devices. I expect LG to just be selling their panels to LCD manufacturers, OLED manufacturers with their POLED display that was in this the Pixel 2 that I had, and hopefully maybe even start being in Surface devices with their exceptional color gambit, which obviously is great because that's what Sony uses. Also coming up is the Sony Xperia, apparently going to stay around because they just announced that they're going to be now having an event in the summer. I'm not exactly sure what Sony plans to do with their devices unless they're going to start leveraging their huge market share in the VR range, but I don't understand how that's going to work with phones right now or handheld devices. So realistically, we just have to really, really hope that Microsoft hits the Surface Duo 2 out of the park in comparison to what they did with the Duo. And we need to see the Neo come out. We need to see 10X come out. And I'm going to stick with my guns here and consider that Microsoft really needs to come out with a candy bar design and try to start marketing it out there to get to smaller businesses, get into places like where I work, where we're walking around with these. Instead of having an MC40, we got something Microsoft based in our hands to do our work day to day. All right. Tell me what you guys think. I'm sorry I went way over. I'm over 13 minutes now. If you did, we'll get all the way to the end. Thank you very much. You're a true legend. Thank you for your time. Thanks for coming to see me. Check out my Twitter. Give me a thumbs up. And again, let's talk about everything in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care.